Let me kick off the question and answer this way. I think it was 2 days ago,
Right.
the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, addressed the youth in trying to stem the end SARS protest. He appealed to the youth to stop the protest and allow the federal government to implement the 5-point demand raised by the protesters. Mr. Ahmed, do you think that appeal has succeeded in stopping the protest that is going on around the country today?
Well, thank you very much for having me. To start with, let me make a quick correction. The president did not make an address to young people to stem the NSAS protest. That's not what he wanted. That was not what the address was for. The president had no problem with the protest. As a matter of fact, he has repeatedly said, both in his direct address to on this issue on the 10th of October, and on several occasions through his spokespeople. And after he met with the Minister of Sports, I think about 4 or 5 days ago, he always reiterated the fundamental right of citizens to associate themselves and register their displeasure, demonstrate through a protest, peaceful albeit, within the ambit of the law, to disagree with anything that they feel strongly about. So the address itself was not to stem the protest. The warning the president gave, or the appeal to the young people to stop the protest, was as a result of the protest um, degenerating into an anarchy, into violence and chaos, and when it resulted into wanton destruction of public and private properties, and in some cases lives and limbs of citizens and individuals. That was the reason why the president appealed to the young people to give peace a chance, stop the protest for now, so that we can be able to decipher who is a genuine protester and who is just a hooligan or hoodlum trying to take advantage of a rather peaceful protest and turn it into something else that it's not. And then several people with their divisive and hateful agendas that they're trying to foster on top of the NSAS protest. But the NSAS protest in itself, if it had remained peaceful within the ambit of the law, without the degeneration into violence and chaos that some people on the side took advantage of, the president wouldn't have had a problem.
Yeah,
Your question was whether that appeal has succeeded. I think to a large extent it has. I think so many groups that form part of the protesters came out to say that they are halting the protest, and that they would continue to observe online and congregate online. But for now, no more street and physical protest, which is exactly what the president wanted. So from now on, we know whoever is on the street, we know he's not a protester. He's just a hooligan, or whatever it is that wants to cause destruction and chaos, and the law will take its course on such people.
right. My next question to Mr. Ahmed will also be, in a virtual meeting with the former leaders, President Buhari also said that the project was hijacked and misdirected. Was it foreseen by the president? We all have lived in Nigeria through previous protests. Did the government foresee that this protest, even though peaceful in the beginning, may be hijacked? And if they did foresee that, was any measures put in place to see that the peaceful end of this protest was not hijacked for nefarious means? What would you say to that, please?
Well, I can't precisely say that that has not been. Hello?
Yes, yes, we are listening.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I cannot precisely say that that has not been foreseen per se, but what I can tell you is that the possibility, there's always the possibility due to our fault lines in the country, that there will always be people who would be on the side waiting to take advantage of something like this. Now, like I said earlier in my opening statement, a lot of the president and the government, a lot of people believe that this was a very good protest with very clear demands. As a matter of fact, the president welcomed it. It was something that a lot of people appreciated the young people by organizing themselves and coming together to forcefully and vehemently tell government that we are displeased with a certain aspect of a government policy. So it was something that was almost admirable. But we all know somehow at the back of our minds that in a country like ours, where we have very serious fault lines, where our security architecture and framework has already been overstretched due to so many insecurity challenges that we have across the country. We knew that this kind of things, if it is not well managed, it could slowly descend into something else. So the government immediately when the protesters laid out their 5-point agenda, immediately accepted those 5-point agenda and began to put things in place to ensure that most of these recommendations, most of these demands are being met, both the immediate short, medium, and long term are being met, so that we could get people off the street as quickly as possible and not allow it to degenerate into this. So government did its own part by making sure that it quickly accepted the demands and ensured that it's going to work on it. Uh, I'm sure we have intelligence agencies in the government. I'm sure they might have looked into one or two things to see that, look, if we allow this to go on for too long, we might have a problem. What I can tell you the government did not envisage was when we accepted the demands, we did not envisage that the protesters were going to say, we do not have leaders and we don't want to talk. You just have to implement this now. And then government thought at some point that, look, we can't talk to a mob of people. There has to be representatives. You don't have to have leaders, but you have to have representatives we can talk to so that they will be able to look at our milestones and look at what we're achieving as time goes on. But I think it was an effective strategy in the beginning on the part of the protesters not to have leaders, because then you cannot pin it down to one thing or another. But I think it went on for too long, and that became a bit of a problem for government, and then unfortunately it descended to this. But the president, I can tell you, still have a lot of respect for the people that organized this and the way they organized it, and for making their demands very clear. And he hopes that the young people, that is us, would also follow through to make sure these policies and these demands are being met. But he appeals that everybody should now back off a little bit so that we'll be able to deal with the miscreants and focus on the art of governance itself.
There's a question here. Considering the protesters had no leader, would you say that the absence of leadership or representatives are the reason, or is the reason why the protest went the way it did at the end of the day?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there are a couple of few reasons. First of all, let me admit that, let me confess that in the beginning when they said they had no leader, that impressed me. That was really something that I was impressed about. It was I was I admired that. You know why? Because I know, of course, there has to be a leader. But the fact that they could come on and say, like, we don't have a leader, because they know how all other protests usually end up when you have a leader. All you need to do is just bring him in, have a conversation with him. And then a lot of accusations and counter accusations start coming in about whether he has sold out, whether they had sold out. So that part was very, and it was a very effective strategy that anyone would admire, you know, saying that we are all leaders. So that gave a lot of people impetus, this this zeal to come out and say, you know what, we're not working on somebody else's agenda, and this is all our own agenda. We're all tired of this. We're all leaders in our own right. Nobody could go on in front of us and try to take credit for this. That was a very effective strategy in terms of protesting. I think that I have learned. So it was an admirable thing to do in the beginning. But I think it should have gone the moment the government accepted the demands and promises to work on them. It should have gone to gear two, option two of the, they should have gone to the second, not the second option, the second stage of the protest. It should have been, okay, now we need to have representatives and get into negotiations with government to ensure that this has been implemented. But that didn't happen. So after the first 5 demands, then there were other people coming up with 7-point demands. Then there were other groups coming up with 25 demands. Then it began to look as if the lack of leadership affected the effective strategy of the second stage of the protest. And I think that became a problem, you know, at some point. And it was easy for other people to take advantage of the leaderless, so to speak, movement, you know, to move in and start causing chaos on the other hand, because there was simply nobody to talk to, you know, at some point. But for the first 3-4 days, effective strategy, after that, after the government had accepted those demands, you know, it should have gone to the second stage immediately of trying to see, not negotiation now, because negotiation has ended because government did not argue with the 5 demands, it accepted all of them. Then the second stage should have been, let's police the implementation of it. That should have been the second stage immediately. But the moment it went in for too long and there was no leader, became a problem.
Okay. Obviously, the leaderless situation of the protest did take the protest to where it is today. Now, considering that the protesters are no longer on the street and things are still sort of scary for others, do you think at this point, if they come up with a leader, it will be effective and useful?
I don't know. I'm sure government is still open to have a conversation. You know, if you look back, if you remember back to the October 12th speech that the president made, when he said this was the first step of the extensive reform we're going to have with the police, he also opened the door for a conversation. You know, the president directly opened the door of the conversation with the, not only with the protesters, but with the younger generation in its entirety. You know, we needed to have a conversation. You know, a lot of young people are disenchanted, not only with this. It didn't start with this government. I mean, people have been shut out of government long before now, and they felt as if, you know, the system is rigged against them. So it's been a pent-up anger that built up over time. So when the president opened that door, you know, it was time for us to move in and have a conversation and be able to reset some of the institutional problems and systemic and political problems that we might have that will accommodate a lot of young people and give us the gravitas to be able to do a whole lot of stuff. You know, I think that was an opportunity. I still think government is willing to have a conversation. So if there is a representative that can be appointed to have that conversation and continue to see how we'll be able to better the country in every way by engaging the federal, state, and local governments is something that, yeah, the government would welcome. I'm sure about that.
Well, Mr. Ahmed,
Yes, sir.
you've rightly pointed out that initially the president acceded to the demands of the protesters, promised to do something about it, requested for dialogue with the youths, and when that dialogue didn't happen, the protest continued. If the government envisaged that this continuous process would have led to hooliganism, to violent protests, which eventually led to, do you think the government, having foreseen this, did enough to prevent that from happening?
Well, I can tell you nobody envisaged the event of Tuesday night that gave rise to this violent and wanton destruction that started off seriously on Wednesday morning in Lagos, especially. We After the governor of Lagos State, and by the way, governor of Lagos State did excellently well, because I think a lot of these things he made a lot of effort to do these things by the right things. He was one of the first few governors that went onto the protesters' ground and discussed with the protesters, opened an appeal fund of about not an appeal fund, sorry, victim support fund of about 200 million to be able to reach out to a lot of people. Um, Named officers of the police force that have been accused of brutalizing people, name them and start prosecutorial processes against them. He took a letter to the president. He came back, and then after, it was only when I think one of the police stations in the state was burnt down by hooligans that he now announced a curfew. Now, when the curfew was announced, people still stayed at the Lekki Bridge, which was not a problem but as long as they're not moving around. Then I think what happened, there's accusation and counter accusation of what may or may not have happened. And then still the next day, after there was a lot of hue and cry about deaths and mass shootings, the next day he was the first person to be on the ground. He went around, saw the people that were injured, and came out and boldly say, you know what, whatever happened last night was a tragedy, but I didn't see any dead body. And if you know anyone that is dead or died as a result of this, tell me their names or their parents' name. Let me go and pay a condolence visit as the governor of the state. And so that was bold because, of course, a lot of people insulted him. His mother's house was burnt as a result. There were a lot of things that happened, but he took and he said, you know what? I'm going to stand on the path of the truth. If somebody has died and I've seen a dead person, I would admit to that much, but I haven't seen one, and there's no report that came to me that somebody has died. So, and then the fake news, and then whether the photos that went out give rise to the burning of the bridge and so many buildings of public and private individuals were burnt down. That gave rise to that. Did the federal government or the government in its entirety foresaw that happening on a Tuesday night? Probably not. We didn't see that happening. Yeah, we knew because states were already beginning to announce curfews. States were already beginning to announce curfews. So we knew that so states were already beginning to see problems. So it's not as if there were no proactive attempts that were being made to forestall the violence. But the speed at which it took and the turn at which it took, I don't know. I'm not an intelligence officer, I'm not in the security agency. I didn't foresee it, certainly. So I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think the government, if the government had foreseen it, it probably would have done something.
All right, thank you so much. Let me quickly ask, yeah, talking about Tuesday night, there's been said that a lot of people died and that number is going out. But in the speech of the president, there was no mention of that Tuesday night. Do you think that Nigerians are over-respecting if they said that the president did not mention the Tuesday night or condole with those who lost their life and whose loved ones were dead or killed during that attack?
You see, the president would only talk when he has full briefings of whatever has transpired. Maybe he hadn't had the full briefings yet. The defense headquarters had already made a statement that it is investigating what transpired that night. The Lagos state government has set up a panel to investigate what happened that night. The president would have to wait for those reports to come in for him to be able to make any final determination and include it in any speech that he would give to the country. It will be premature for the president to mention something that he does not have, that the investigative report has not been given to him in final details. Having said that, if I were the one that would say something, I probably would still have mentioned it. Um, uh, I would have preferred that he still mentioned the fact that whatever happened that night, whether true or false, resulted in the chaos of the next day. Um, it could have been mentioned, but I'm just a young man. I'm brash. The president is more methodical. He's more careful. So he would wait for investigative report to come to him before he made any determination or
Right.
went on.
Thank you so much. And people, you're still on Elombah Television. And Elombah Television is a television that presents Nigeria's perspective on global affairs. Elombah Television is on Instagram. Elombah Television is also on Facebook, so you can like on Instagram, follow on Facebook, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you'd see all of our videos as they drop. Okay, like we do, we take questions from people present right here, and I can see your hand, so I'm just gonna ask Mr. Otumba Olabode Oseni to ask his question. So you unmute yourself and come up with your question.
Honorable Special Assistant, the question I want to ask you, I also want to appreciate that this is not the time to start flogging around what happened. I mean, we all know what happened, where we are now. So the question is, the lapses, because there's no doubt that this is a lapse, the lapse that that led to killing of anybody. Who is going to take full responsibility for that?
I can't. First of all, let's be very clear. Like I said, I'm a assistant on social investments. Yes, I'm the leader of the party, but there are certain things that I may not be able to answer for you. There may not be some things I may not be able to answer directly. Don't misconstrue it as not trying to answer, but because everybody has his own responsibility. I'm not a spokesman for the president. I'm not a security advisor to the president. I'm not in the security or intelligence community. I'm not any of those, right? But I happen to be in government. I appreciate that. I happen to lead young people within the party. I appreciate that. This has a lot to do with young people. So yes, I can understand when people invite me to come and say a few things. But please pardon me when I say there are certain things that I simply do not have the answers to. That doesn't mean that the government does not have answers to them. It's just that is not within the prism of my knowledge, because it's not within my job description to do that. But in all honesty, I believe that government would go after people that have a hand in deaths and killings of citizens when all this is over. That I know government will do. And if anybody has any evidence, and government has said that over and over again, if anyone has any evidence of anyone, whether in uniform or a private or a citizen, that has led in the killing of somebody else, please present that evidence to the police and action will be taken. This is a very, very, very serious issue that government takes extremely seriously. The judicial panels of inquiry have been set up in every state right now. I think about 12 to 13 states have set up now. The others will do the same. Young people will be members of these panels. If you have any evidence of any person that's being killed, be it a police officer or a soldier or a private individual or a protester or if you know any person that has killed anybody or led to the killing of anybody, submit your evidence to those panels of inquiry and follow through and see what will happen to the person if that person is actually found guilty of that culpable act. That I can assure you government will do something about.
Just a quick follow-up. Thank you very much for that kind of reassurance. The only problem I have is the culture of dealing with perpetrators like the whether SARS or ordinary police. What you just said now may not attract any form of sympathy or assurance, because the culture that these people, the youth, are complaining originally for the problems which the SARS, the police have been doing to the ordinary people. So when they hear you saying that, they'll just say, well, one of the stories of we'll do something, but it will end up in unknown soldiers, which I think is very sad. But then, having said that, this might be a little bit personal, and it's nothing, when I say personal, nothing to do with you, Honorable. We follow, I'm in the media, and I'm also a broadcaster, and I know at least to some extent, I know my audience. It seems like typical of African. I don't want to restrict my argument to any particular tribe, religion, or whatever, but it seems like the other part of the country, especially in the north, what has been the take of the Northerners, I mean, about this, about what happened?
About what happened to about what exactly?
Yeah, it looks like the Southerners are the main people. But then I have to tell you, sir, I am not in any form or shape trying to say north, south, west, or anything, or Yoruba or religion or anything. But it looks like most of what we have been reading in media, none of them has shown us that the Northerners have shown any form of concern, if at all.
No, okay, so I'll just attempt to answer the question. Not that I understand it very well, but I'll attempt to answer what I think I understand.
I can still break it down. Let me keep it simple.
No, I think
what is the take of the Northerners about all what happened in the West? I mean, Lagos in particular, and some other part of South.
Okay, now that's exactly what I'm confused about. Are you saying what is the take of the Northerners as regards the NSAS protest? Or
yes, you can also say that, yeah.
Or about the destruction that happened in Lagos?
The destruction and the campaign. I mean, the campaign also, the protest. Because we're learning, there's so many things I can support my question with.
I understand you. So I just wanted clarification. You know me, I like clarity of exactly what I'm saying.
That's fine.
Okay. So again, I will tell you that I'm not speaking for Northerners, because I'm not a spokesperson and I do not belong to any regional or cultural group. I don't. So I will try to answer you from within my knowledge, but that does not make it the absolute case, because I do not speak for the Northerners, even though I'm one. But I cannot claim to speak for the Northerners, because the Northerners did not come down together and had a meeting and say that this is our position. So there's nobody that can speak for the Northerners. The governors, even the governors of the North that spoke, they spoke as governors from Northern Nigeria, not as, not as that we had a meeting with them and everybody had a meeting and there was a referendum and then there was an agreement and then they spoke our agreement. No, that wasn't what happened. So I will try to answer this the best way I can from my own personal understanding. My own personal understanding. Now, on the NSAS protest, I'll tell you for free from personal experience that a lot of people from my state, in Kano, for example, that have had issues with some sort of criminality, either banditry or kidnappings or armed robbery, have had SARS come to their aid. On the first instance, within 72 hours, my older brother's wife's car that was taken away from her at gunpoint was recovered within 72 hours by SARS. And they didn't take a dime from my older brother in Kano. Now, he has a different experience, and that is an experience a lot of northerners in the northern part of the country have about what SARS or what police can do for them. Now, everybody has issues generally with police about simple bribes here and there, calling them to come and rescue one or two things. They delay, they tell you to give them money for fuel, conniving and conspiracy with some other people. There are all stories like that here and there. We've had them. But in terms of violent crimes, SARS have been like the go-to unit, and they have served the people that have had the chance of interfacing with them very well in the north. So the northerners do not have the experience, the bad experience that a lot of people from the south have with SARS. So at the beginning, a lot of people who are in the north did not feel as if this end SARS was a national campaign. They felt as if the people that were shouting end SARS were shouting because it affected them directly. They didn't pay attention to what the SARS was doing in other parts of the country. And that was why the governors came together and said, you know what, we don't have problem with SARS. Because they have been helping us deal with criminals. Kano, some parts of Kano would have been kidnappers then, if not because of SARS. That I can tell you, because that's directly. So to try to I'm not speaking for everybody, like I said, and I'm not saying that there are no northerners that have had bad experiences with SARS or anything. No. But I'm just saying that the preponderance of the negatives is not as high in the north as it is in the south. So maybe that is why you did not see an en masse support for the end SARS. I think the northerners tried to do their own protests as well about end banditry and kidnapping and insecurity in the north, but already that the protest that has begun in Abuja and Lagos and some parts of the south was already overheating the polity. And a lot of leaders in the north say, you know what, we cannot overheat the polity completely like that. So since you guys did not have the initiative to start this on your own, allow this one to be dealt with first, then you can bring up your own issue at some later point. So I know that those conversations have taken place and that kind of thing that down. As regards what happened in Lagos, I think a lot of people were sad, and shocked that, that thing could just turn violent within minutes, within hours. It was shocking to a lot of people that I've spoken to who are from the northern part of the country. They couldn't believe what was happening in Lagos. They thought that, how, could people allow, this to go on, within this short period of time. And it was really shocking to a lot of people that I've spoken to. Like I said, I can't claim to know what everybody else feels. But yeah, there was absolute shock and disbelief in what was happening in Lagos after that. And now when, some of these things started, when the governor came out and said, really there was nobody that was killed, and then there were social media started unearthing most of the pictures that are being shared, are pictures from other accidents or other deaths or even movies in some cases, as deaths at that scene. Then it began to look as if, what? So people, these things were destroyed and people are about to be killed because somebody felt that he could just sit down in the comfort of his room, or maybe he was even in London, and share fake news, and then these things are being destroyed worth billions of naira. So a lot of people were shocked, not only Northerners, I think a lot of Nigerians were shocked and utterly dismayed by what was happening in Lagos. So to answer your question, that's the two things I know.
Okay, just a final follow-up. Then is it safe? And this is again not personal, This is really, really not personal. And I'll tell you why it's not personal. I've been around for a while now. I always say that on all meetings is not to get anything. That know me by now very, very well. Is it then safe to say that if the people in the north do not have the nasty, very bad experience the people in the south have with the SARS, in terms of the SARS in the south will flag you down because of your hairdo, because you are wearing skirt, because you are carrying a laptop, because your mobile phone looks like a latest iPhone and all that kind of thing. So is it then safe to say that the good SARS are kept in the north and the bad ones are given to the south to terrorize them? Thank you.
I think this is I think if anybody knows how police works, I don't think there's any particular kinds of people that have been sent to a particular kinds of places.
No, you just said the problem the Southerners have. You don't have it in the north.
We have different but even in the south, so to speak, there will always be bad eggs. I gave you example of how even in the north there are a lot of people that have bad experiences with police officers as well. It doesn't change anything. But maybe the level of violent crime that we're seeing in terms of banditry and absolute insecurity in the north, maybe it's not prevalent in the south any longer. And I remember when I was reading the reason for the creation of SARS, in 1992 during the military regimes. I remember, one of the reasons one of the people that wrote about it said, he said at some point, there's no day that you pass by in Lagos that you not see a dead body either on the street or in a marketplace. People were houses, you stop in the traffic for about 30 minutes, you'll be robbed. It's happening in broad daylight in Lagos, So the police knew that they had to take extra measures to make sure that they brought down robbery. And to a large extent, in the last 10, 15 years, Lagos was relatively sane. It was not violent free, it was not crime free. Certainly it won't be no big city like that would be. But, it has reduced to a large extent, So you can't say that police officers are bad or the security law enforcement agencies that have been sent to Lagos are bad. But there will always be bad eggs. There are more affluent young people in Lagos than there will be in northern Nigeria average. So I'm sure the bad eggs that are there would have nobody to deal with in the north as much as they would in Lagos, where there will be concentration of more affluent people, more middle class young people, as that. So maybe if there was prevalent of that in the north, maybe it would happen. I don't know. I'm not speaking for that. But to an experience of a typical northerner, the SARS was more of a problem solver and a problem creator, to a typical young person in the South. And I'm sure if you go to Lagos and do a polling of other people that have had experience with SARS that have dealt with their problem, there'll be a lot of people that will tell you good stories about some of the SARS people that they have met as well. So it's not one cup size, it's not one cup fit all, it's not one size fit all. And I think that question is sorry to say too, it's not personal, but it's absolutely, it's I don't know. It shouldn't be a question that anybody should ask if you know how police force are being dealt with in this country.
About evidence, there are a lot of videos right out there on social media, and the military have come forward to say the videos were photoshopped. What do you think? Do you think those videos were actually not real videos like it was? Because there is also a video of a live time when a bullet was being taken away from somebody's lap at the scene of the attack. Would you say that also wasn't a real video?
Please come again. I didn't hear that.
All right. During the Tuesday night attack, there was a live video that is as it is happening. Somebody was opportune to take a video as it is happening on the scene, and bullets were being taken away from another protester. And the army have come forward to say most of the videos or the videos out there on social media were photoshopped. Will you also say that the video we saw or people saw was also photoshopped, or it was real? What do you say about that video? Because you mentioned evidences, as there are no evidences. Are you still with us?
I know, I'm with you. I'm here.
All right.
Well, you can't just, when I say evidence, I said there's a panel of inquiry that's been set up in most states. So if you feel strongly that your video evidence is real, then it's not for the social media, it is for that panel of inquiry. Take it to the panel of inquiry where there will be experts that will authenticate it and act on it. But you and I both know that there are a lot of things that are being shared on social media that may look real, but they are not. At the end of the day, under further scrutiny, they are not real. Now, I have seen the video with the soldiers in it. I am not an expert on whatever it is, and I'm not going to sit down here and deny that nothing happened on Tuesday night, but I cannot confirm it either because I don't have any exclusive knowledge one way or another. I don't know one single person personally that was there that night. I don't know. I wasn't there. All the people that I know personally or have spoken to, the best they can tell me is that they know somebody that knows somebody that was there, or that they watched it on Instagram Live or somebody else. That's all. I have no one that was there in person. So I cannot, as a responsible person, deny or confirm that anything has happened. But all I know is that something bridge following day in Lagos and in other parts of the states, in other parts of the country. So I guess whoever has video evidence, visual, photo, audio evidence of anything that must have transpired, I think there's a great opportunity now that the governor has set up this judicial panel of inquiry to please submit it there for verification. But if you just want clickbaiting, if you just want likes and tweets and retweets, you can put it on social media and get all the validation you can get on social media and have other people insulted. But that is not going to solve any problem. If you really want people to be prosecuted for what you allegedly have done, then there is the process for that to happen. Then you submit it to the right channel and then let it get dealt with at that point.
There is a question.
Thank you so much.
I think there is a question.
Okay.
So someone has posted here. If Mr. Ahmad will react to it, please. We have heard that part of the reasons why the federal government could not negotiate with the protesters was that there was no leadership among them. A question I see here from KBC solicitors is there any reason why a top government official did not come out earlier to address the protesters, to assuage them? That's the question on the board.
Yeah, I think in Lagos the governor went to address them. In Kwara, the governor also joined the protest. In Oshun, the governor went to address them. I think he was even stoned. So in a lot of different states, I think the governors went to the protest ground and addressed the protesters. In Abuja, I think they went to, I think the Inspector General of Police invited some people initially and had a conversation with them, and then he did a lot of press conferences. I wish that he had gone to the protest ground in the early stage and addressed the protesters. I don't know if that would have solved the problem, or I don't know if that would have made it better. But I do know that he tried as much as possible to speak to some people. But I don't know if any other person within the government structure had gone out and spoken to the people. I know there are a lot of statements that was released by almost everybody: the vice president, the inspector general of police, the minister of youth. The minister of youth quickly set up a town hall meeting. There were so many people that did what they could. But as in regards to having people go out to the protest ground in Abuja and speak directly to the people, I don't know anyone I don't know if any top government official did that. I wish we had done something like that. Like I said, I don't know if that would have made things better, but I wish we had done it.
Okay, before we proceed,
thank you so much.
because Lydia, very soon we will now be rounding up. Let me share this video because it appears we have concentrated so much on what happened in Lagos on Tuesday. And then following the Tuesday incidents, there was widespread looting and arson in Lagos on Wednesday and Thursday. Now, on Friday and continuing today, it appears that it is now the turn of the Southeast. Let me just share a video of what has been happening in the Southeast. Even as I'm writing now, we are still receiving live videos of what is happening in Cross River State. Let me just share and then see what exactly the government thinks about that. This is in Enugu State.
This happening live in Ababa. First Bank and Access Bank. Taking money from their ATM. Chimo. Hey. This is a palliative they promise that they are bringing. This is not. Today's date is 24th of October. This is what is happening in Jos City. This is what is happening in Jos City. This is Jos City. You can see the masses. Everybody wants to get food to eat. What the government? What the government? Look how people are struggling. People are struggling to have food. Please, please, we are begging no. We are begging no, please. Don't attack anybody.
This is a senators have been vandalized in Cross River State. This is a politician's house being vandalized.
Jesus. No put fire, no put fire. No put fire, no put fire, no put fire. Carry anything you need, no put fire.
Yes, so there are still lives happening right now at the city of Nigeria, the unknown warehouse where the palliative was supposed to go to this city of Nigeria. So you come and see the wickedness of the oh my God.
It's fully loaded. You have to split it. their own. The armies have put their truck, collected their own. Immigration, custom, last month, and the warehouse has not gone half. So reasonable youth around us. The station is being protected.
Well, gentlemen, what you have just seen, I cannot play all the video. It's so much. It appears that the whole country is on rampage. We have seen Kaduna State, Plateau State, Lagos State, Oyo State, Anambra State, Cross River State, Akwa Ibom State, Enugu State. Mr. Ahmad, what is the thinking of government? Well, I know it may not be a job description, but can you give us an idea? What is the thinking of government with regards what has been happening around the country today? Can you
no one in government or outside government would be happy with what's going on. I think it's this is exactly what we what everyone is afraid of. A total chaos, a breakdown of law and order. And this is what we are always afraid of whenever, because of the magnitude of our fault lines in this country. Sometimes people think that governments don't want citizens' civil disobedience. No, that's not the case. This is what it may turn out to be. That is always the issue, and sometimes you don't have control. If you start something like a protest, you may not have control of.
Okay,
take
I'm sorry, Mr. Ahmad. I think I've just seen a question come up here. What is the story behind the COVID-19 palliative? So a follow-up to my question will be, can you give us an insight into why these COVID-19 palliatives are being stored in warehouses? Because I called some people in some states, what is going on in your state? What do you think? And they were like, oh, let the people go there, if I were the governor, I'll simply go and stand at the door of the warehouses, allow people to take whatever they want to take. That it is better than burning down houses. What is the story behind storing these palliatives? Some of them rotten, being destroyed in warehouses rather than having them in the homes of people who are hungry.
Well, I again, you're asking me something that is not within my remit.
I know it, but at least I know that you interact more with some of these people than I do. So that's why, if you can give us an insight, what's going on?
What I'm trying to say is that I'm federal government, so I think that's the same question I would be asking the state governments. I mean, we gave you this palliatives to share. What is it still doing in your warehouses? I think that's a question that we would ask as federal government, because I work with the president, and the president has ordered the customs and the Ministry of Agriculture to bring out from their silos, and the customs to bring out 150 trucks to be shared to states. And the Ministry of from the PT of the Presidential Task Force, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs was given the responsibility of moving around and sharing this food, and sharing these palliatives, and they moved in. But most of the palliatives that are being seen are not even those that came from government, because I see a lot of bags that had COVID, meaning they were, because most of the palliatives I'm seeing, including Indomie and packs. I don't think the federal government shared Indomies at that time, in terms of the palliatives that came from the PTF. But there was COVID, that is Coalition Against COVID-19, that was set up by business owners, Dangote, Bua, the CBN, and so many other private players that brought in a lot of money, I think about 50 billion, and they bought a lot of foodstuff, rice and beans and sorghum and millet and spaghetti and pasta, a lot of things that were bought, oil, and then shared to states. Those are some of the things that I'm seeing that are still being looted, kept in one place. I'm shocked why they are still there, but I don't want to castigate any state governor or any state government for not sharing. I would want to hear their reasons why, those things have not been shared. When did they receive them? Why are they still in those warehouses? What happened to them? I know in some cases there were some of the things that were given to some states. The states refused to share them because when they started sharing, a lot of people came back with complaints that they were already bad. So the state governors kept them, uh, um, kept them.
Hello, Honorable, are you still there?
I think you are muted. If
Oh.
you can unmute yourself, or Mr. Ahmed,
Yes, Honorable is muted. Please
I
unmute.
think you are muted. Can you unmute yourself again and continue speaking? Yes.
We
Yeah.
can hear
So
you.
hello. Yes. Um, so yeah, I would like to know because some of those things I know at some point earlier in June, July, there were some state governors complained that some of the things that were given to them were not really good. They were already bad by the time they came to them. If that was the case, that was why they didn't share. I don't know. I don't know what the story is behind it. I don't want to pretend as if I do, and I can't answer for them. But that is a question that I would love to know the answer myself of what happened. And in some videos that you showed, and even the ones that I saw for myself, I saw in some cases the security, the law enforcement agencies were just waiting. They're just telling people just do it slowly, just don't destroy anything, just pick it up and go. Uh, it's unfortunate that we've come to this level, but uh, mm, I hope that we'll be able to take control of this as soon as possible.
All right, yeah. Talking about the palliatives and people going all out to get palliatives that were supposed to have been distributed as when needed. And you have said some of them, the state government did complain that they've gone bad. If they've gone bad, why are they still in the warehouses? Now, that's one question. The other is, I got an information today that some people got an information of the Abuja warehouse and they did go there to get some palliatives, but they were not allowed in. The question is, why are the palliatives that are supposed to be given out to the masses during the heat of the COVID-19, the lockdown, why are the palliatives still in warehouses even until now? If the excuse is that it's bad, why is it still in warehouses?
Wow. So of all the things I said, the only thing you picked out was that I said that he was bad. I
Yeah,
said
it's likely.
no, that is joking. I said a whole lot of stuff. And the bad part, I said few governors said some of the things that were given to them, they shared it, and people brought it back that it was bad. So they kept it and they didn't share it. Nobody knew that the day like this was going to come. I didn't say that that was the only excuse for keeping it. I didn't say that. I said I am eager to know the answer for keeping them as much as you are eager to know the answer for keeping those things. I work for federal government. I know we share these palliatives. I know the federal government has shared these palliatives around the states. I am shocked that these palliatives have not reached the households that it was meant to. That it was meant for. So I'm shocked. I'm just saying, not as an excuse. I'm just saying that I know of one or two state governors that complained at the time, way back in June, when the palliatives were given to them, that their people brought it back that it was bad. I think Oyo State was one of them. I think Ondo State was one of them. It complained, the governor complained clearly that the food stuff you are giving us is not good because people are returning it. I remember that clearly and vehemently. But I'm not saying that that is the excuse for each and every state that is that people are going to suffer this. I'm not saying that that is an excuse. And like I said, and I'm repeating myself, please, let's so that we are very clear what we're saying here. I said, I don't know the reason for not sharing those palliatives. I don't know when some of these states receive their palliatives. There are so many things I don't know that it will be unfair on the governors or the state governments for me to answer why the palliatives are still in their warehouses. That would be unfair because there are so many things I don't know. And I'm not the kind of person that answers questions that I don't know, just so that I want to castigate somebody. It would have been nicer for me to say, you see, I'm federal government, when we say we're sharing palliatives, everybody didn't believe us. Now you see people are going to their warehouses, the state governors are hiding them, they hoarded all this. It would have been good for me to say that, but that would be unfair because I don't know why they did that. I don't know what the true story behind it is.
All right.
So I'll have to wait to
Yeah.
defend
Thank you
themselves.
so much.
We thank you, Mr. Ahmed. Let's remember that Mr. Ahmed is the Senior Special Assistant on National Social Investment Program to Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. We will soon be rounding up, Mr. Ahmed, but in line with your job description, I'm showing now the part of the speech of President Muhammadu Buhari. I think was that on Wednesday or Thursday? And the president said clearly that he has put in place, the government has put in place measures and initiatives principally targeted at youths, women, and the most vulnerable groups in our members. Among the things government has done is farmer money, trader money, market money, N-Power, N-Tech, and N-Agro. I'm sure this may fall within the purview of your knowledge. And if the government, part of the things we are hearing now is the NSAS protest may be as a result of deep misgivings on the part of the youth with regards to the government. Would you say, I'm not saying this as a form of castigation, but would you say that all these efforts by government has succeeded in assuaging the feelings or the social disconnect between the youths and the government? And if not so, what more could the government do or could have done to see that our youth who are wallowing in poverty and unemployment, their suffering will lessen?
Honorable, please unmute yourself. You're muted. Okay.
First of all, thank you. First of all, I don't think since 1999, since the return of democracy, there has been a government that has done more in terms of poverty alleviation and direct impact on the people, like the government of Muhammadu Buhari. And I'm not saying it because I'm part of this government. You can go and bring every record you can bring since 1999. I compare with mine any day, anytime. And in terms of people on the ground, I can tell you that for free. But we are a 200 million strong country. 70% of them young people. 70% of 200 million is a minimum. It's a minimum of almost 140 million people. In 140 million people, the statistics said about 24% of these young people are without a job, either unemployed, underemployed, or unemployable. 24% of 140 million is roughly a quarter of it. A quarter of 140 million is almost 25 million people, or more than that. It's almost about 35 million people. That is a lot of people. That is a lot of people. Now, what has government done? Yes, Empower, trader money, farmer money. We've done all these things. But once that started it, we've done very well. We've employed unemployed graduates, 500,000 of them. They receive 30,000 naira every month. They've been able to take care of themselves and take care of their families. You know, and we have trader money that we've given it to about 2.4 million people. Market money, we've given it to about 640,000 people. We've fed 9.6 million children in 67,000 schools, you know, through about 120,000 cooks around the country in homegrown school feeding. You know, that has resulted in agricultural revolution from the bottom up, where we have people now go to the farms so that they'll be able to sell to the government, and the government will buy it and then give it to local women who didn't have jobs before to cook for children to eat it in school. So we created an ecosystem that was absolutely fantastic. And we spent, what, 12 billion naira almost every month for that, you know? And monies went straight to the pockets of people because we had BVNs of rural women who we paid directly into their accounts. 17 naira per child, 9.6 million children. We feed them at least one protein a week. So let's say let's assume that they take 1 egg a week. If they take 1 egg a week, that's 9 million eggs a week. To get 9 million eggs, you need at least about 4,000 to 5,000 poultry farms that have 2,000 layers that lay 6 eggs a week for you to get 9 million eggs a week. That's a lot of number. It has created a lot of job in everywhere. So impact-wise, we have impacted on the lives of about 13 to 14 million people directly or indirectly through the social investment program alone. Not to talk of Anchor Borrowers Program, the Universal Microfinance Bank programs, the Bank of Agricultural programs, the Bank of Industry programs. A lot of programs that was touching the lives of people directly that I know of. All you have to do as a journalist is go to any local school, public primary school, and ask them about school feeding between primaries 1 and 3 and find out whether or not it is ongoing. It happened. So we're expanding, we're trying to reach out as many people as possible. But you see, there will always be those people that didn't get. Let me give you an example with Empower. In our second batch of Empower, we had only slot for 300,000 people. 2.6 million people applied. In a 2.6 million people applied, you only pick 300,000, which means 2.3 million people didn't get it. So what are the chances that if you walk into a market between 2.3 million people and 300,000, which ones would you see first almost? Of course, you meet the 2.3 million people more, naturally, because there are more. They are almost, 10 times the number? So the point is, the people that didn't get it are much more than the ones that got it. Because the pool is large. So government keep creating programs to reach out to people. But most importantly, we know that government cannot be the ultimate employer of labor because it's simply not sustainable. It's simply not sustainable. It's something that we have to be able to get the private sector going, to be able to employ as many people as possible. And that's what we are working on as we move along. The Ministry of Trade and Investment is doing a lot in that. The Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, the ERGP program, a lot of things that government is trying to put in place to make sure that we get the private sector roaring back again, so that we'll be able to get most of these things done. The president has signed the Not Too Young to Run. He has signed so many things that have to do with young people, to encourage them both economically and politically to be able to move themselves up by their bootstraps. Is it enough? No. Will any government ever do anything that is enough for its people? No. But the essence of government is to keep trying to make sure that we alleviate poverty as much as we can, that we have people living decent lives. That's what we are supposed to do. And that's what this government is doing. So of course there will be complaints. Of course it will never be enough. We simply do not have the resources to do it for everybody. But for those who we can do something for, this government will. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's quickly take questions from Mesa Otumba before we call it a wrap, and I see Ifeanyi just after Otumba, please. Mr. Otumba, mute yourself.
One question, no follow up, and then we'll round up, please.
No, I will do a packing. I'll do packing.
Okay.
Now, towards the end, I had the honorable advisor doing a kind of, I take it to be a campaign, even though we are not yet ready for 2023. But honorable, let me say this to you, and I'm sure you will agree with me by the time I finish, that the complaint of Nigerians, the pains, the agony of Nigerians is due to bad governance. And I can also tell you for free that I happen to be one of the people that campaign for the government you are serving in today. I'm really shocked to find out that you are talking about palliative arrangement for some people. The 250 million, I mean, the 200 and something thousand you are talking about, there are some people, they are not all people. I've never seen most of the civilized government that we're supposed to be emulating make provisions for everybody. For everybody. I am over 73. The provision made for me. I feel secured. Here we have a government in our country that they do not do the due diligence, they do not make provision for everybody in terms of, because if you say trader money, that money and that kind of money, the people that are, the large number of people are angry and hungry. And that's why you get what we're getting today. So I want to say, because of the selective
All right. Okay.
and
Please.
ineffective of governance,
All right.
it's what is hitting everybody hard.
All right. Thank you. Let's move to another person, please. Another question, and then the honorable will take all of them, and we conclude. Ifeanyi, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Daniel, I thought you would have allowed Otumba to continue because all that he was saying are all in line with the only one point I want to make. I just want to make only one point. But since you have asked me to continue, let me just go to that point straight. And it's just on the issue of education. I want the Honorable, since he is special assistant to the president, I wish he takes this my submission to the president. And what I am saying is that the education sector in Nigeria cannot be said to be functional and sustainable. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Nigerian education sector remained totally closed because as big as Nigeria is, priding herself as the giant of Africa, the nation's education sector cannot implement ordinary online education. I am saying this because I work in the Nigerian education sector. And during the pandemic, I was able to continue with my studies in the UK, right from Nigeria. But our schools remain closed, even up to now, while other countries have progressed. Let him tell the president that there is supposed to be what I call a state of emergency in the education sector in Nigeria. Our education is in total shambles. That is all I want to submit. Issue of education, very important. Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank you so much,
We will now allow Mr. Ahmad to respond to the two issues raised by Otumba. And Otumba, I only stopped it because our time is running out, not to shut you up, please, if you don't. I hope you will understand that.
Okay. We've been on it together for too long to to understand that. I'm aware and also appreciate.
All right, so Mr. Ahmad, could you please respond to Mr. Anagwa and Otumba, please?
So let me can Mr. Otumba please in one sentence also please repeat this question again in one sentence, please. One sentence.
Will you agree with me that because of the bad governance of the present government that we have led to all these unnecessary agitations, not taking care, not putting necessary palliatives in education, in housing, in roads, in Medicare, and all that kind of thing, which is not supposed to be a magic that led to all this problem. And if care is not taken, as you can see, and I hope you will have the courage to pass this message, like Mr. Ifeanyi said, to the government, bad governance is causing a lot of problems to everybody.
So bad timing is also causing a lot of problems. I said one sentence, you're taking like 20 and 20.
I'm doing what American will call packing. So I'm trying to put everything together to help you.
Took the whole day saying something. Can please, Mr. The other speaker, can he just repeat his question in one sentence, please? And I hope he will be more adept to time, please.
Okay, thank you. In one sentence, the education sector in Nigeria is in total shambles. Nigerian education sector was not able to progress during the pandemic.
Narrative, the question, please.
While other countries are going to school, Nigerian education sector remained totally closed because of the pandemic. And I made a simple analogy. I said that during the pandemic, I was able to do my studies in the UK.
That's
right from Nigeria.
Please, what is the question? If there is a question.
I think Mr. Anagu's question is why? I think Mr. Anagu, if you can put it in form of...
The question is, why can't Nigeria education sector be functional and sustainable? Simple.
Thank you very much. First of all,
let me. We don't have the money.
Is
it that we don't have the money as a country to implement a sustainable education for our youth?
Mr. Ifeanyi, of time, please. Let's the honorable answer the question.
Mr. Otumbano, I disagree with you that this government has displayed bad governance. I totally disagree.
I don't expect you to agree, Honorable.
Let's take its answer, please.
That you're entitled to your opinion, and I have come to realize that to a large extent, some of these things are based on personal opinions and perceptions. I think this government has done a lot in terms of infrastructural development. I think this government has done a lot and committed a lot of resources, even at such a period of time when we don't have these resources, to be able to bridge our infrastructural deficit and so many things. Are we satisfied with our performance so far? No, not even the president would say he's absolutely satisfied. There's always room for improvement, and there's so many things we can do right. Have we made mistakes as a government? Yes, absolutely. We've made a lot of missteps and mistakes. And we've given people positions that have not been able to deliver on so many of these mandates. That is all true. Have we gotten our politics and our policies right all the time? No, I would say no, that we haven't been able to do that, as to a large extent in some cases. But in terms of performances, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of trying to rebuild institutions, the government has, as far as I'm concerned, like I said, this is my opinion, the opinion of a lot of people around me, is that the government has done creditably well. There's room for improvement and will continue to improve. On the second question of Ifeanyi, is about education, whether our education is set for 21st century. I also share your sentiments. I think that we can do a whole lot more in terms of education. I think we're still following the old school of educating people. I'm not Minister of Education, but I have my opinions about it. I wish we can do better, and I hope at some point we'll be able to. I know they're doing a whole lot of stuff, but I think this focus on teacher salary, the president recently upgraded the teacher salary and changed their status. Very good, very commendable effort and feat. But I think we have to really look at the policies of education and try to now focus on the 21st century education so that we'll be able to compete, and our children and grandchildren will be able to compete in the 21st century world. I think that is something that we can do. Look, I'm not the kind of guy that will tell you that everything is okay, we can all hold our hands and sing Kumbaya. No. And if there's anything anybody knows about me, is the courage to say things the way they are. I believe we have not done terribly bad. I believe we have room for improvement, but we are not a bad government. You are entitled to opinion. There'll always be a ballot for you to go against us if you want. It's absolutely your right. But we are not a bad government. Is there room for improvement? Yes. Should we improve? Absolutely. And then we'll keep putting things in place, inshallah, to see that we have improved as a result of that. Thank you very much.
All right, Lydia, before you bring the session to a close, let me put on my final comments to our guests tonight. I have met Mr. Ahmed only once in 2014 during our open conference in Lagos. He came across to me as a forthright person, someone who is able to put forward the position of the youth very well. This is the second time he's appearing on our program. And Mr. Ahmad, my own position to you will be this. Please, I know it may not be so often that you speak to the president. I know he may be speaking to a lot of people, but I know that as an advisor, you see him once in a while. Does the president not believe in symbolisms? For instance, I've interviewed a lot of personalities in this my program concerning this NSAS program and the solution. Well, I can say the president has done a lot of things he believes is right, but what about symbolism? For instance, what could have happened if the president said, I know the policemen have done this today, I'm sacking the Inspector General of Police, I'm appointing someone else, I'm sacking this person, I'm putting someone else, I'm sacking the Chief of Army Staff, I'm putting someone else. The person may be aggrieved, the IGP may be aggrieved, but that is the purpose of symbolism in government, that may often go a long way to solve a problem. What do you think about that, please?
I don't think I'm here to say my personal opinions. I'm here to say, I can tell you for free that a lot of people in and outside government who support this administration think that some of the service chiefs and police chiefs and security chiefs have overstayed their welcome, that they should go and we need to inject new life. A lot of people have expressed that thing. But, you know, the president is who he is. You know, he does these things this way. He believes that, you know, wartime you don't change commanders. Those are his beliefs, you know. And he is the one that we give the mandate to, so we allow him to do it the way he wants to do it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for that response, and we do appreciate you so much, Honorable Ismaeel Buba Ahmed, for showing up today and taking your time to answer all the questions brought forward to you. We appreciate you. To everyone who is also here, we appreciate you. We thank you so much for your time being here. And to that person who stumbled on this video online, we also are grateful that you'd eventually watch this video. But you can take it one step further. Follow us on Instagram, like our Facebook page, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you get some more of every of our programs. And this will be where Angel Lady calls it a wrap for today. And to have yourselves a pleasant night rest. Bye from now.